Here over at the White House, you can see this is over in D.C. as President Trump has warned the Hamas terror group that if more hostages are not released Saturday as planned, quote, all hell is going to break out. This comes as Hamas has made claims that Israel violated the terms of the ceasefire, and the next group of hostages held now for about 500 days will not be released Saturday. President Trump also said that Palestinians in Gaza would not have a right to return under his plan for the U.S. to own the territory, which he calls, quote, a real estate development for the future. The president previously stated that he plans to turn Gaza into, quote, the Riviera of the Middle East. Trump has pushed for Jordan and Egypt to take in those Palestinians from Gaza, though they continue to reject that push overall. And that will likely be a topic of conversation today over at the White House as President Trump welcomes Jordan's King Abdullah just 1 week after a visit from Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. A lot to discuss and a lot to break down as always, so I do want to bring in a good friend of the show. We do have Fleur Hassan Nahoum, Israel's Foreign Ministry Special Envoy and the former Deputy Mayor of Jerusalem. Thank you so much for taking the time, as always, to be here with us.
Sure, thank you.
And the first question I did want to ask you overall, just based on your expertise and your experience here, how is it likely that Israel, if they will respond at all, could respond to that Hamas delay in the release of hostages? Will they respond?
Well, absolutely, we have to, because the Hamas have made it for 20 years a habit, part of their modus operandi to break ceasefires. On the 6th of October, we had a ceasefire. Over a year ago, when we managed to get back 100 hostages, there was also a ceasefire that they broke. So this is what they do. They start something, they get everybody's hopes up, and then they break the ceasefire. We knew it was going to happen sooner or later. Now, what they're saying is a complete lie. They're saying that Israel is somehow breaking the ceasefire. We just heard from the UN only a couple of hours ago saying no, that all the humanitarian aid is going in as planned. There's nothing that Israel is not allowing in. And so again, we see that they're lying. And if you ask me why they're lying or why they want to break the ceasefire, it's because I honestly think that after Saturday and the reactions of the world when they saw those 3 hostages come out who looked like Holocaust survivors, they realize it might not be so good for their PR and their status around the world.
Do we know what Hamas is actually alleging that Israel did to violate the ceasefire? Is that clear just yet?
Well, they're just throwing in everything. They're saying that there's not enough humanitarian aid, that things are being stopped. That's not true. 600 trucks go in every single day. It's thousands and thousands since the ceasefire began. So that's not true. The second thing they're saying is that Israel hasn't retreated from the areas it was supposed to retreat. That, again, is not true. The Netzarim crossing between the north and the south of Gaza is open, and they're going through. So they're inventing violations in order to justify not releasing more hostages.
Does it appear at this point that we will make it over to phase 2? And do we know what phase 2, that ceasefire deal, will even really consist of?
Well, we're not even through phase 1 yet. This is still supposed to be part of phase 1. Imagine those poor families who were waiting for their kids. We're still in the humanitarian cases. At this point, they're all humanitarian cases, but we're talking about the injured men. And we're talking, of course, about, unfortunately, the bodies. In many cases, they took dead bodies with them in order to have more of a leverage to negotiate. This is how sick these people are. Today, we find out that an 86-year-old man was actually dead all the time. His family have been ceaselessly advocating for him for a year and a half. It's just too cruel. The whole thing is too cruel. And so we hope that we can complete the first phase. There are teams in Doha talking about the second phase, but this is a crisis in the first phase. So let's hope that President Trump's threats, which we're very happy to say, very resolute, shake them into actually completing what they said they would.
And I do want to pop up a live look here over Gaza, as we do have all of these images that are always coming in here. And I just want to show that to the folks out there as I move on to some of the other topics here related to the Middle East, because I want to get your take on the significance of the Palestinian Authority president signing a decree to and legislation that provides payments over to Palestinian prisoners and families of the terrorists that are killed while carrying out attacks. Is it likely, just based on the talks that we've seen, that President Trump played a role in that?
I think so. I think that many of these, or the Palestinian leadership is divided into two. Of course, it's Hamas, or the Muslim Brotherhood, and then you have Mahmoud Abbas, who's supposed to be the moderate, but of course, for years, he's been giving pensions to murderers and has a very toxic school system. And I think with President Trump coming in and making it very clear where he stands on tolerating terrorism, or tolerating indoctrination, or tolerating the incentivization of murdering Israelis, I think that President Abbas is trying to, ingratiate himself with the Trump administration. Whether he's going to actually do it or it's another empty announcement, as we've heard over the years, we hope he's going to do it. He's actually breaking American law with the Taylor Force Act. And different administrations in the U.S. always found a way to, bypass the Taylor Force Act, but he's actually breaking American law.
One thing that's interesting is we are awaiting the arrival of King Abdullah of Jordan. He is going to be the second international guest that has arrived there at the White House during Trump's current administration. Now, President Trump obviously met with Benjamin Netanyahu 1 week ago. What does that say to you overall? Because you have Netanyahu arrive, and then a week later, you have the King of Jordan here.
Well, I think it just shows us that President Trump is very serious about helping us here bring peace and stability and prosperity to the Middle East. He's talking to the Jordanians. The Jordanians need him because they're also under threat from the Islamic Republic of Iran. We all actually, ironically, share the same enemy. And so there's a lot that we can work on together. And this was really the basis of the Abraham Accords, another initiative that President Trump started and have created a completely different atmosphere here. So I hope that with his statements, what he's doing is making these Arab countries part of the solution and not the problem.
All right, Fleur Hassan Nahoum, Israel's Foreign Ministry Special Envoy. Thank you so much, as always, for taking the time to join us here. Anything else you want to add before I let you go?
Ultimately, we all pray that our hostages come home. Their families have been waiting for them. It's cruel what they're being put through, and this has to end.
All right, Fleur, thank you again for taking the time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.